Hey everyone, this is a brand new YouTube channel about guns. And if that's something you're interested in, would appreciate a subscribe or any interaction with me. I'm making this video, which is only my second full-length video for YouTube, and it's gonna be on things I would consider if and when you're thinking about getting your first pistol and wanting to build some familiarity. So I'm going to quick cut to a clip of me showing you a close-up of the 4 pistols I own, and then we'll cut to me sitting down and talking to you about them. So thanks. Okay, here they are. I have the 4-inch or just over 4-inch Glock 23V. That's in .40 caliber. I just got that in the last month and have shot a few hundred rounds through it. Here is has been my favorite everyday carry. That's a Springfield Armory XDM Elite in 9mm. That's a 3.8-inch barrel. I cannot say good enough things about this pistol. Really checks all the boxes. I did purchase this I don't know, it was 6 months ago or so. That is the Walther PPS M2. It is a 9mm, and I got that one because it is a little thinner. And in the summer, I did like carrying this the last few summers, the Springfield. It's just a little bit bigger and heavier than something like this. And honestly, I would recommend the PPS, or at least I enjoyed this Walther more than the Hellcat, the M&P Shield Plus, and let's see, what else did I shoot? This P365 I've shot, and I just thought this had better overall performance. For me, the ergonomics, the trigger, it just kind of made sense. This was actually the second concealed carry pistol I ever got when I got back into pistols a number of years ago after selling all my guns, and I thought I'd start small. That's a .380 caliber, and that's the Ruger LCP2. And so order of how I purchased these guns was the Ruger, the Springfield, and I thought I'll never have to purchase another pistol again if I don't want to. The Walther PPS M2, and then just recently the Glock 23V in .40. Okay, I'm going to sit down and talk to you about things I would consider when thinking about purchasing your first pistol. Thanks for sticking with me. I have no particular plan other than to just speak about the pistols I have in front of me and from my own experience. So congratulations if you're thinking about purchasing your first pistol and wanting to familiarize yourself with guns. I can feel overwhelming or a bit scary, and I say that because guns are designed to do one thing, and we know what that is. And that's why I think videos like this are so important, because you need to understand the fundamentals of gun safety. And I'll just explain to treat every gun as if it's loaded. So do not point the gun at anything or anyone that could potentially be destroyed, harmed if it would go off. Whether you think it's loaded or unloaded, doesn't matter. Treat it that way. And so you never want to point the muzzle end, which is this end, at something you do not intend to shoot. This gun is clear. I'm going to be honest with you. This gun is clear. That means there's no bullets in the chamber. There is no bullet in or no bullets in the magazine, and I removed the magazine. I have other pistols here on the table that are hot, and I am not going to be pulling the trigger on any of these, going into anything like that. I just want to talk to you about what I would consider. So when you're thinking about it, look up safety videos, gun safety, because you also don't ever want to put your finger on the trigger until your sights are on target, and you know what is beyond your target because a bullet can pass through. So say you go into a gun store, a gun range or a gun shop with someone you know, which would be great, and someone who might be more familiar with guns. If not, no worries. you go in and you ask if you can see a pistol, or you ask someone at the shop to talk to you about pistols. If they hand you one, do not just put your finger in here. Keep your finger off to the side and see how that pistol feels in your hand. You want to try to get your hand up into this tail and get a high grip on it, and just see. If I could go back, I don't think I'd change anything, but I'd recommend to you that a gun this small might seem less intimidating, but it's gonna be harder to shoot. I honestly would recommend something more like this Walther PPS M2, where you're gonna be able to get more of a grip on it and get a better idea of a pistol that feels good in the hand. That would be the first thing I would think about. And if you're getting your first pistol, you might or likely not be thinking of carrying immediately. By that I mean conceal carrying. And I think that's a good place to start as you build familiarity with handling and shooting and build in accuracy. And I mentioned getting a gun like this, which could be considered a subcompact, because it will be easier to rack the slide, build good shooting form and posture. And it might be actually less frustrating than going for something much smaller, even though those smaller pistols are kind of all the rage and rave. You might be less likely to get frustrated and give up if you start with something that feels in your hand a little bit better. Now, if the store or shop is in an area or state where they feel comfortable not having a lock through the trigger, and you can ask them if you can dry fire, what you'll want to do then is, you can just take out that magazine. There's usually a button, and if they say yes, you want to make sure there's no bullets in it. And I double check what you do. This is the slide on a pistol to be able to see what's in here. Some guns have a window or some kind of button or identifier that lets you know that there's one in the chamber, which means a bullet in this chamber. But what you can do is slide back. It's kind of hard because of the way I have it here. Slide the slide back, and you look down the barrel. That's that hole where you would imagine a bullet coming through out of here. That's the chamber, and that's the barrel. So now I'm even gonna double check there's nothing, and then what you want to do is point in a direction where there's no person or animal or anything that could feel intimidated or threatened by someone pointing a gun at them. Or just ask the person at the shop where would be a good place to point. And it also wouldn't hurt to be honest when you go into the store and say, hey, I'm thinking about looking for my first pistol, just so you know, and just to kind of break the ice. And then I'm not going to go a ton over technique, but you want to have the sights, which are these things here that you use to aim at eye level. And you have one hand like this through the grip, and then your left hand, I'm just going to do this briefly, comes in here. And this is a small gun, but the left hand thumb, if you're a right-handed shooter, comes just under the right hand thumb and presses out like this. No pressure to know all of this and remember all of this. So we've talked about how the pistol feels in your hand. We've talked about some basic gun safety. And we talked about pulling the trigger, or what's called dry firing. That means there's no bullet in, but you can get a feel for how that trigger feels. Because if the gun just doesn't feel right in your hand and you don't like how heavy or hard it is to pull the trigger on that particular pistol, if you have some of those concerns right up front, that's probably not the pistol for you. Ideally, it would be nice if you can go to a range and rent at least several that you're thinking about and try them out. Highly, highly recommend that. especially when you haven't shot much or at all, because you want something that just feels intuitive, or like you don't have to think so much about it. You'll just put it in your hand and go, oh, I like this. And I say that's a super good indicator because that's been true for me. And I think I would like to say, as you build more familiarity and get more comfortable, then you can, I would say, move up into something like a compact size. You could even start with a compact size gun, which I believe is usually talked about as something like this size, like a 3.8-inch barrel, up to 4-inch or 4.2-inch barrel. It's gonna have a wider grip as well for you to get more in your hand. And I think these are fun to shoot. So if you're not thinking of concealed carrying, you just want to get into shooting, there's no harm in getting a bigger compact pistol like this. So you could do something like a subcompact that's going to be somewhere in the like 3.1, 3.3-inch barrel size, kind of like this. Or you could go bigger. Canik has some cost-effective compact size pistols. This Springfield, which I think the MSRP was between $550 and $600. You can still sometimes see them come on sale for like $350. Unbelievable deal. You can go with something like a Glock 19, which is this size. This is the Glock 23, however, in 40. There are a lot of nice 9mm brands or companies out there, like Smith & Wesson, FN, Springfield, which happens to be one of my favorite. Walther, I believe Walther has one. Oh, I'll put myself on the spot. Is it the PDP-F? There's one of their 9mm that I believe they said was designed for people with smaller hands, or people like a woman's hands is what I've heard some people say, but everybody's hands can be different, man or woman. And I know men who like that pistol as well. So with that, I would just say, if you appreciated anything I had to offer or have any feedback, please leave a comment, like, subscribe. And as long as a few people are clicking on these videos, I will continue to make them and post them. Not endorsed by anyone. I just want to keep it raw and real. Take care.